Commander Allison Wright held her breath as the video feed flickered. The alien on the screen was tall and gray, with 6 dark eyes arranged in a circle on its face. Its mouth moved in strange ways as it spoke, the translation software turning its clicks and whistles into English. "Humans," the alien said, "we of the Ardaxian Collective have considered your request for peaceful relations." There was a pause as the alien's eyes blinked in sequence. "We find your species unworthy of such consideration." Allison's heart sank. 6 months of careful talks, all for nothing. The diplomatic ship, the EDS Handshake, had traveled to the edge of the solar system to meet with the Ardaxians. Now it seemed the aliens had no interest in peace. "Please reconsider," Allison said, keeping her voice steady. "Earth wishes only to establish friendly contact. We have much to offer in trade and cultural exchange." The alien made a sound that the translator couldn't process. Maybe it was laughter. "Primitive species always beg," the alien said. "Your technology is basic. Your weapons are weak. Your resources, however, are plentiful. The Collective has decided that Earth will better serve us as a colony." Before Allison could respond, the ship shook violently. Red lights flashed as alarms blared throughout the bridge. "We're under attack," shouted Lieutenant Dan Miller from the tactical station. "Multiple hits to our engine section. Shields failing." "This meeting is over," the alien said. "The conquest of Earth begins now." The transmission cut off. Allison grabbed the edge of her console as another blast rocked the ship. "Get us out of here," she ordered. "Emergency jump to safety protocols." But it was too late. The bridge erupted in flames as another hit struck directly above them. Allison felt herself being thrown to the floor as the artificial gravity failed. "Abandon ship," she yelled into her comm. "All personnel to escape pods." Around her, the bridge crew scrambled toward the escape pod access. Allison helped an injured communications officer to her feet. "Move," she ordered. "We have less than 2 minutes before the core goes critical." They reached the escape pod as the ship began to break apart. 6 crew members crammed into the small pod designed for 4. Allison was the last one in, slapping the launch button. As the door sealed behind her, the pod ejected from the dying ship with a violent shudder. Through the small viewport, Allison watched as the EDS Handshake, Earth's first diplomatic vessel, broke apart in a silent explosion. Around it, strange ships with curved hulls and glowing blue engines moved in formation. The Ardaxian attack fleet was massive, at least 50 ships that she could see. "They planned this all along," whispered Medical Officer Frank Harris, his face pale in the dim emergency lighting. "The diplomatic meeting was just a trap." Allison nodded grimly. "They think we're defenseless." The escape pod's communications console lit up. Someone was trying to contact them. "This is Mining Outpost Ganymede," said a panicked voice. "We're under attack by unknown vessels. Is anyone receiving this?" "This is Commander Wright of the EDS Handshake," Allison replied. "We've also been attacked. The aliens are called Ardaxians. They're hostile." "They're everywhere," the voice said. "They've already taken Mars Outpost and are moving toward Jupiter's moons. Earth Defense Command isn't responding. What should we do?" Allison's mind raced. If the Ardaxians were already at Mars and moving toward Jupiter, they must have had ships in position for weeks. This wasn't a sudden decision. It was a planned invasion. "Evacuate if you can," she said. "If not, surrender. Don't throw your lives away." The transmission ended abruptly. Allison closed her eyes, trying to think clearly. The Ardaxians believed humans were defenseless, with only basic technology and weak weapons. They didn't know the truth. "Set course for lunar base," she told the pod's pilot. "We need to reach Admiral Martinez." "The pod's not designed for that kind of journey," the pilot, a young ensign named Ryan Baker, said. "We don't have enough fuel." "Then get us to the nearest emergency beacon," Allison replied. "We need to warn Earth about what's really coming." The Yao pod limped away from the wreckage, its small engine pushing it toward the inner solar system. Allison knew they were practically invisible to the Ardaxian ships, too small to be worth targeting. That was their only advantage. As the hours passed, Allison used the pod's limited computer to review what they knew about the Ardaxians. They were an old species with colonies across dozens of star systems. Their technology seemed advanced, especially their faster-than-light travel capability. But there were gaps in their technical approach, weaknesses that Earth could exploit, if only the Ardaxians knew what they were really facing. 3 days later, the tiny escape pod was picked up by an Earth patrol ship near the asteroid belt. Allison and her crew were immediately transported to Lunar Base, the headquarters of Earth's secret defense program. Deep beneath the surface of the moon, Admiral Samuel Martinez listened as Allison gave her report. His weathered face showed no emotion, but his eyes burned with intensity. "So it's finally happening," he said when she had finished. "After all these years of preparation?" "The Ardaxians think we're easy prey," Allison said. "They have no idea what Earth is capable of." Martinez nodded and pressed a button on his desk. The wall behind him transformed into a massive screen showing the solar system. Red dots marked the positions of Ardaxian ships already spreading through the outer planets. "They've taken 4 mining outposts and 2 research stations," Martinez said. "They're moving faster than we expected." "How soon can we deploy?" Allison asked. Martinez's face hardened. "The first wave is already preparing to launch. The EDS Vengeance will lead the counterattack." "Vengeance," Allison repeated. "That's fitting." "Come with me," Martinez said, standing up. "There's something you should see." He led her through a series of security checkpoints, down elevators that descended deep into the lunar rock. Finally, they reached a massive door marked with the Earth Defense Force symbol. "For 200 years we've kept this secret," Martinez said. "Ever since we first detected signals from the Ardaxian part of the galaxy and realized what they meant." The door slid open, revealing a sight that still took Allison's breath away, even though she had seen it before. A massive underground hangar stretched for kilometers, carved out of the moon's interior. And inside it, illuminated by thousands of lights, were the Dreadnoughts. 6 of them were nearing completion, their massive hulls gleaming under the artificial lights. Each was over 3 kilometers long, with weapon systems that could destroy entire fleets. And these were just the first wave. "The Ardaxians think they've won," Martinez said quietly. "They're already celebrating their victory." Allison watched as thousands of workers moved around the massive ships making final preparations. The closest dreadnought, the EDS Vengeance, was already powering up its engines. "They have no idea what's coming," she said. "No," Martinez agreed. "They don't. And by the time they figure it out, it will be too late." Lights began to flash as announcements echoed through the enormous cavern. The first wave was preparing to launch. Earth's response to the Ardaxian invasion was about to begin. The Galactic Fleet had celebrated too early. Earth's dreadnoughts had arrived. Admiral Samuel Martinez stood in the control center of Lunar Base, watching as technicians prepared the massive dreadnoughts for launch. Around him, screens displayed the Ardaxian fleet positions. The aliens had already taken Mars and were moving toward Europa, Jupiter's largest moon, where 10,000 humans lived in the underwater colony. "How much longer?" Martinez asked, his voice tense. "Final checks complete on the Vengeance," replied Lieutenant Alan Powell, the youngest officer, ever assigned to a dreadnought. "The other 5 ships will be ready in 30 minutes. Martinez nodded. He had waited 200 years for this moment. Well, not him personally, but humanity. For generations, Earth had detected strange signals from deep space, signals that suggested hostile intent. Rather than announce this and cause panic, the world's governments had secretly united to build a defense force unlike anything ever seen before. "What about Major Ellis's reconnaissance?" Martinez asked. "Her stealth ships are in position," Powell said. "The Ardaxians don't know they're being watched." On the main screen, live footage showed Ardaxian ships surrounding Europa. The aliens had large curved vessels with blue energy flowing through visible channels on their hulls. They looked advanced, but Martinez knew better. Earth scientists had been studying alien technology for decades, secretly recovering crashed scout ships and analyzing transmissions. The Ardaxians weren't as advanced as they thought. They've started landing troops on Europa, Powell said, pointing to the screen. They're going after the colony. Martinez's face hardened. No more waiting. Launch the Vengeance now. The other ships can follow when ready. Throughout the massive lunar hangar, warning lights flashed as the first Dreadnought powered up its main engines. The EDS Vengeance was the largest warship ever built by humans, over 3 kilometers long with weapons that could destroy a small moon. Its hull was black, designed to absorb enemy scans rather than reflect them. Inside the Vengeance, Captain Gregory Howard took his place on the bridge. Around him, his crew worked at their stations, preparing the massive ship for its first real mission. All systems online, reported Commander Lisa Chen, the ship's executive officer. Quantum displacement drive charged and ready. Howard nodded. The quantum displacement drive was humanity's greatest secret, a propulsion system that could move the massive ship anywhere in the solar system almost instantly. The Ardaxians still used conventional faster-than-light travel, which was much slower. Prepare to launch, Howard ordered. Set coordinates for Europa. High orbit. The enormous doors at the end of the lunar hangar slowly opened, revealing the blackness of space. With a deep hum that vibrated through the entire ship, the Vengeance's engines came to life. Launching in 3, 2, 1. Commander Chen counted down. The Vengeance moved forward, its massive bulk gliding smoothly out of the hangar. Once clear of the moon, its secondary engines fired, pushing it away from lunar orbit. We are clear for quantum jump, Chen reported. Howard took a deep breath. Engage quantum displacement. For a brief moment, space itself seemed to bend around the massive ship. Then in an instant, the Vengeance vanished from lunar space. Near Europa, Major Catherine Ellis watched from her stealth corvette as the Ardaxian fleet set up orbit around the moon. Through her ship's advanced sensors, she could see alien landing, craft heading toward the human colony. They're breaking through the ice, she reported back to Lunar Command. They'll reach the underwater sections within minutes. Before she could continue her report, her tactical officer interrupted. Major, I'm detecting a quantum distortion, he said, his voice filled with excitement. The Vengeance is arriving. Ellis smiled. About time. Space warped briefly at the edge of Europa's orbit, and then the EDS Vengeance appeared. The massive black ship dwarfed the largest Ardaxian vessels. For a moment, nothing happened. The Ardaxian ships didn't react, likely confused by the sudden appearance of the enormous vessel. Aboard the Vengeance, Captain Howard studied the enemy fleet on his tactical display. Communications Officer Reeves, can you intercept their transmissions? He asked. Patricia Reeves, the ship's communications expert, nodded. Already doing it, sir, translating now. The bridge speakers came to life with an alien voice, translated into English by the ship's computers. Largest colony yet. Their defenses are pathetic. No sign of any real military vessels. High Commander Vrextal was right. These humans are primitive. Another voice replied. The mining equipment is already being assembled. We'll have the first shipment of resources back to Ardax Prime within a week. Howard's expression remained neutral, but his eyes hardened. Tactical identify. Their command vessel. Lieutenant Laura Diaz, the weapons officer, scanned the Ardaxian fleet. The large vessel at the center of their formation, sir. It's twice the size of the others. Target their command vessel, Howard ordered calmly. Prepare main quantum displacement cannon. Throughout the massive ship, power redirected to the main weapon. A cannon that didn't fire energy or projectiles, but instead created a quantum disruption that could tear apart the atomic structure of anything it touched. Target locked, Diaz reported. Quantum displacement cannon charged and ready. Howard nodded. Fire. From the front of the Vengeance, a barely visible distortion shot out, crossing the space between the ships in an instant. When it reached the Ardaxian command vessel, there was no explosion, no fire. The alien ship simply disappeared, its atoms scattered across space. Aboard the Ardaxian ships, panic erupted, their communications filled with confused shouts and orders. What happened to the command ship? Where did that human vessel come from? Impossible. They don't have this technology. Howard didn't wait for them to recover. Launch fighter squadrons. Prepare secondary cannons. Target their largest vessels first. From the Vengeance's massive launch bays, hundreds of small, agile fighters poured out. Each was piloted by a highly trained human pilot, eager to defend their home. As the first wave of fighters engaged the Ardaxian fleet, space behind the Vengeance warped again. 5 more Dreadnoughts appeared: the Retribution, Judgment, Guardian, Avenger, and Sovereign, each just as massive and deadly as the Vengeance. On his ship, Ardaxian Sub-Commander Krell watched in horror as the human vessels approached. This was impossible. Their intelligence had said humans only had simple ships, basic weapons. Nothing like this. All ships retreat, he ordered. Fall back and regroup. But it was too late. The human fighters were already among them, their advanced weapons tearing through Ardaxian shields like they weren't there. And the massive Dreadnoughts were moving forward, their secondary cannons firing with deadly precision. Back on the Vengeance, Captain Howard watched as the battle unfolded. Send a message to Europa Colony. Tell them help has arrived. The Ardaxians had celebrated too early. Their easy victory was turning into a nightmare. And this was only the beginning of Earth's response. The battle for Europa raged for 3 hours. Human fighters darted between the larger Ardaxian ships, their advanced weapons cutting through alien shields. The 6 Earth Dreadnoughts moved in perfect formation, their massive cannons destroying any Ardaxian vessel that tried to escape. Captain Gregory Howard stood on the bridge of the Vengeance, watching the tactical display as the last large Ardaxian cruiser vanished under the combined fire of his ship's secondary cannons. "Status report," he ordered. Lieutenant Laura Diaz looked up from her weapons console. "All major Ardaxian ships have been destroyed or disabled, sir. Only a few small vessels remain, and they're retreating." Howard nodded. "What about the ground forces on Europa?" Communications Officer Patricia Reeves checked her screens. "They've lost contact with their fleet. Our Marines have landed and are pushing them back from the colony entrances." It had been easier than expected. The Ardaxians' technology, while impressive to most civilizations, was decades behind what humans had secretly developed. Their shields couldn't stop quantum weapons, and their ships moved too slowly to avoid Earth's fighters. "Captain," Reeves said suddenly, "we're receiving a transmission from Lunar Command. Admiral Martinez is calling a strategic meeting." "Put him through to my ready room," Howard replied, standing up. "Commander Chen, you have the bridge." In his private office off the main bridge, Howard activated the secure communications system. The screen lit up, showing Admiral Martinez and the captains of the other 5 Dreadnoughts. "Well done at Europa," Martinez said without preamble. "But we've got more problems. The Ardaxians have attacked all our outer colonies simultaneously. They have ships at Mars, Venus, and approaching Earth itself." Captain Susan Rivera of the EDS Guardian spoke first. "How many ships are we talking about?" "Our sensors show over 500 vessels total," Martinez replied. 3 main fleets, and we've intercepted their communications. They're calling for reinforcements from their home systems." Howard frowned. "They still think they're winning, don't they?" "Yes," Martinez nodded. "Their intelligence on us is completely wrong. They don't understand what they're facing." "What's the plan, Admiral?" asked Captain Eric Johnson of the EDS Retribution. Martinez's face was grim but determined. "We're launching the second wave. 15 more Dreadnoughts are being prepared right now. Captain Howard, your task force will head to Mars. Captain Rivera, take your ships to Venus. The rest of us will defend Earth." Howard's eyes widened slightly. 15 more Dreadnoughts? He knew Earth had been building up its secret fleet for decades, but he hadn't realized how many ships were ready for battle. "There's one more thing," Martinez continued. "We've detected unusual energy readings from the Ardaxian flagship approaching Earth. Dr. Olivia Chen has been analyzing their technology, and she thinks they might have a planet-killer weapon." The captains fell silent. A planet killer would be devastating if it reached Earth. Then we'll make sure it doesn't get close enough to use it, Howard said firmly. The meeting ended, and Howard returned to the bridge. The crew looked at him expectantly. Set course for Mars, he ordered. Prepare for quantum jump. As the Vengeance and 2 other dreadnoughts prepared to leave Europa, Colonel Derek Morgan reported from the surface of the moon. His marine teams had secured the colony and captured several Ardaxian soldiers. The colonists are safe, Morgan reported. Minimal casualties. But these Ardaxians are strange, Captain. When cornered, they fight like they've never faced real resistance before. They probably haven't, Howard replied. From what we've gathered, they've spent centuries conquering less advanced species. They don't know how to react when someone fights back effectively. On Mars, the situation was critical. The Ardaxian fleet had already destroyed the orbital, defense stations, and landed troops near the main human settlements. The Red Planet's colonies, home to over 1 million people, were fighting desperately with whatever weapons they had. The 3 Earth dreadnoughts arrived in Mars orbit with a ripple of displaced space. The Ardaxian ships, busy bombarding the surface, were caught completely by surprise. All ships open fire, Howard commanded. Priority targets are their bombardment vessels. Protect the colonies at all costs. The space above Mars lit up with weapons fire. Quantum displacement cannons tore through the largest Ardaxian ships, while swarms of human fighters engaged the smaller vessels. On the Ardaxian command ship, Fleet Commander Zarn watched in horror as his forces were decimated. Impossible, he muttered as another cruiser disappeared from his tactical display. Where did they get this technology? The humans were supposed to be primitive. His second-in-command approached nervously. Sir, we've lost half our fleet already. Our ground forces are cut off. We should retreat. Zarn slammed his fist on the console. Retreat to where? These human ships can follow us anywhere in the system. Our only hope is to hold out until reinforcements arrive from Ardax Prime. Even as he spoke, the ship shook violently. Warning lights flashed across the bridge. Hull breach in sections, 5 through 9, a crew member reported. Shields failing. Zarn looked at the tactical display once more. 3 enormous human vessels, each larger than anything his people had ever built, were systematically destroying his fleet. It had taken the collective centuries to build these ships, and the humans were turning them to dust in minutes. Send a warning to the High Command, Zarn ordered. Tell them, he paused, struggling to find the words. Tell them we were wrong about the humans. They are not primitive, they are not weak. They are the most dangerous species we have ever encountered. Before his message could be sent, a quantum displacement beam struck the command ship. Zarn had just enough time to see the bridge dissolve around him before he, too, vanished into scattered atoms. From his position on the Vengeance, Captain Howard watched as the last major Ardaxian vessel was destroyed. Reports were coming in from the surface. The Ardaxian ground forces, cut off from orbital support, were surrendering in large numbers. Captain, Communications Officer Reeves called out. Message from Admiral Martinez. Venus has been secured. The Earth Defense Fleet has engaged the main Ardaxian armada. Howard nodded. Show me. The main screen switched to a view of Earth orbit. 20 dreadnoughts, more than Howard knew existed, surrounded the planet in a defensive formation. Against them, the largest Ardaxian fleet yet was being torn apart piece by piece. They never had a chance, Lieutenant Diaz said quietly. No, Howard agreed. But they still don't understand that. Order our ground teams to secure the prisoners. We need to learn everything we can about their home systems. As the battle for Earth reached its conclusion, Admiral Martinez sent a new order to all fleet captains. Prepare for Phase 2. Once Earth is secure, we take the fight to them. The war was just beginning. Humanity was no longer hiding its strength, and the Ardaxians would soon learn just how badly they had underestimated their enemy. 1 week after the first Ardaxian attack, Earth had reclaimed its entire solar system. The alien invaders were either destroyed or captured. Their ships floated as broken wrecks in space or had been towed to hidden Earth bases for study. In the large meeting room beneath the lunar surface, Admiral Martinez addressed the gathered fleet captains and civilian leaders. The room was silent as he detailed their victory and the next steps. "We've won the battle for our home," Martinez said, his voice echoing in the quiet room. "But the war is far from over. Our prisoners tell us the Ardaxian collective spans 27 star systems. They've already called for reinforcements." President Elizabeth Warren, who had governed Earth through many crises, stood up. "How long do we have before these reinforcements arrive?" 2 weeks, Martinez replied. "Maybe 3. They're faster than light drives or slower than our quantum displacement technology." Dr. Olivia Chen, chief scientist of the Earth Defense Force, stepped forward. She had spent the past week studying captured Ardaxian technology. "Their technology is advanced in some ways," she explained, displaying holographic images of alien devices. "But their defensive systems are decades behind ours. They focused on weapons and expansion, not protection. They never expected to find a species that could fight back effectively." Captain Gregory Howard of the Vengeance spoke next. "We've interrogated the highest-ranking prisoner, Subcommander Krell. He revealed something interesting. The Ardaxians have never encountered quantum technology before. They thought it was theoretical, impossible to actually build." President Warren nodded slowly. "So we have a significant advantage. But we can't just wait for them to return with a larger force. What options do we have?" Admiral Martinez touched a control panel and a 3-dimensional map of nearby star systems appeared over the table. 27 systems glowed red, marking Ardaxian territory. "We take the fight to them," Martinez said firmly. "Hit them before they can organize. Show them that attacking Earth was their worst mistake." "A preemptive strike?" asked Captain Susan Rivera. "How many ships do we have ready?" Martinez smiled slightly. "More than most of you know about. The lunar base is just one of 6 construction facilities. We have 50 dreadnoughts ready for battle and another 30 nearing completion." Murmurs of surprise filled the room. Even most fleet captains hadn't known the true extent of Earth's secret preparations. 80 dreadnoughts? Captain Howard whispered to Rivera. "They've been planning this for longer than I thought." President Warren studied the star map carefully. "Which system do we target first?" "Proxima Ardaxis," Martinez replied, highlighting a star system closest to Earth. "It's their forward base, the staging area for their invasion. We hit it hard, destroy their shipyards, and then move deeper into their territory." The room fell silent as everyone considered the plan. Earth had always been a peaceful planet publicly, focusing on scientific advancement and cooperation. Now, they were planning an offensive war across multiple star systems. "We didn't start this conflict," President Warren said finally, seeming to read their thoughts, "but we will finish it. The Ardaxian collective has conquered and enslaved dozens of species. They tried to do the same to us. We have to show them, and any other hostile civilizations watching, that humans are not to be underestimated." The meeting ended with final preparations for the counterattack. As the officers filed out, Colonel Derek Morgan approached Captain Howard. "My Marines recovered something interesting from Mars," Morgan said quietly. "Ardaxian data cores, mostly intact. Our tech teams have been analyzing them." Howard raised an eyebrow. "And?" "The Ardaxians weren't acting alone," Morgan replied. "They're part of something bigger, something called the Galactic Hegemony. From what we can tell, this hegemony controls hundreds of star systems and regularly sends its member species to conquer upstart civilizations." Howard frowned. "So the Ardaxians are just the foot soldiers?" "Looks that way," Morgan nodded. "They get to keep some territory and resources, but they answer to the hegemony leadership. Does Admiral Martinez know about this?" "Just told him before the meeting. He wants to keep it quiet for now. Focus on defeating the Ardaxians first." Howard nodded thoughtfully. This changed things. Earth wasn't just fighting one aggressive alien species. They might be challenging an entire interstellar empire. 3 days later, the first strike force was ready. 30 dreadnoughts, including the Vengeance, gathered at the edge of the solar system. Each ship carried thousands of fighters and ground troops, ready for the first human invasion of an alien world. On the bridge of the Vengeance, Captain Howard addressed his crew. "Today we make history," he said, looking at their determined faces. "We will be the first humans to travel beyond our solar system in a military capacity. The Ardaxians came to our home as conquerors. We go to theirs as defenders of our right to exist." Commander Lisa Chen, his executive officer, stepped forward. "All ships report ready, Captain. Quantum jump coordinates locked on Proxima Ardaxis." Howard nodded. "Send the signal to all vessels. Jump in 3, 2, 1. Space warped around. The massive fleet has 30 dreadnoughts activated their quantum displacement drive simultaneously. In an instant, they vanished from Earth's solar system. At Proxima Ardaxis, a red dwarf star 11 light-years from Earth, an alarm sounded in the Ardaxian monitoring station. The technician on duty looked up in confusion as his instruments detected multiple spatial distortions. Before he could report, 30 massive black ships appeared in orbit around the main Ardaxian base. The human fleet had arrived. On the Vengeance, Howard observed the Ardaxian defenses. They had a sizable fleet here, almost 100 ships, but none were as large or as powerful as Earth's dreadnoughts. "They're scrambling to react," Chen reported. "Their communications are chaotic." Howard nodded. "Send the message we prepared." Throughout the Ardaxian fleet, on every ship and base, screens activated, showing Captain Howard's face. "Attention Ardaxian forces," he said calmly. "I am Captain Gregory Howard of the Earth Defense Fleet. Your attack on our world has failed. Your invasion fleet has been destroyed. Now we bring the war to you. Surrender immediately, or face the consequences." The Ardaxian response came quickly, from a large station orbiting the system's main planet. An alien commander appeared on screen, his 6 eyes blinking rapidly, and what Howard had learned was a sign of agitation. "Humans," the alien said, "you have made a terrible mistake coming here. This is Ardaxian space. You cannot hope to—" Howard cut the transmission. "They've made their choice. All ships, commence attack." The Earth fleet moved forward, quantum weapons charging. The battle for Proxima Ardaxis had begun, and with it humanity's first steps into a larger war that would reshape the galaxy. The battle for Proxima Ardaxis lasted just 6 hours. Earth's dreadnoughts tore through the Ardaxian defenses like they were made of paper. Quantum displacement cannons shattered the largest enemy ships, while swarms of human fighters eliminated smaller vessels. By the time Captain Howard ordered a ceasefire, only a few Ardaxian ships remained, and they quickly surrendered. "Secure the orbital stations," Howard ordered, "and prepare landing parties for the main colony." As Earth forces took control of the system, Admiral Martinez's voice came through on a secure channel. "Excellent work, Captain," Martinez said. "The second wave is on its way to you now." Howard raised an eyebrow. "Second wave? 20 more dreadnoughts," Martinez replied. "They'll arrive within the hour. Your task force will continue to Ardax Prime. The second wave will secure Proxima Ardaxis and the surrounding systems." Howard nodded. Ardax Prime, the Ardaxian homeworld. They were going straight for the heart of the enemy. "What about the galactic hegemony?" Howard asked. "If the Ardaxians are just one part of a larger alliance, we'll deal with that when the time comes," Martinez said firmly. "Right now our priority is to force the Ardaxians to surrender before their main reinforcements arrive." On Ardax Prime, the ruling council gathered in an emergency session. The 6 council members sat around a circular table, their normal calm replaced by near panic. "How is this possible?" asked Council Leader Draz. "The humans were supposed to be primitive, barely able to travel their own system." Military Commander Vorek slammed his fist on the table. "Our intelligence was wrong, catastrophically wrong. They've taken Proxima Ardaxis, and reports say they have more ships on the way." "What about the hegemony?" asked Science Minister Alara. "Have they responded to our calls for help?" Vorek shook his head. "They've sent an inquiry fleet, but it won't arrive for days. Until then, we're on our own." Draz's 6 eyes blinked in sequence, a sign of deep stress. "Can we stop these humans from reaching Ardax Prime?" "I don't know," Vorek admitted. "Their ships use technology we've never seen before. They can appear anywhere in a system without warning. Our defenses weren't designed to counter that. The council chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. For the first time in 1,000 years, the Ardaxian collective faced an enemy it could not easily defeat. Perhaps, suggested Diplomat Cran, we should consider negotiation. 24 hours later, the Earth fleet arrived at Ardax Prime. 50 Dreadnoughts, the largest military force humans had ever assembled, emerged from quantum jumps around the Ardaxian homeworld. The planet below them was beautiful, with swirling blue-green oceans and golden land masses. On the bridge of the Vengeance, Captain Howard studied the Ardaxian defenses. They had positioned their remaining fleet in a protective formation around the planet with orbital weapon platforms as a second line of defense. They've got everything they have left protecting their homeworld, Commander Chen observed. Howard nodded. And it won't be enough. Before he could give the order to advance, Communications Officer Reeves spoke up. Captain, we're receiving a transmission from the planet. They're requesting to speak with the Earth Fleet Commander. Howard raised an eyebrow. Put it through. The main screen lit up, showing an Ardaxian with elaborate decorations on its gray skin. Howard recognized the markings of high leadership from the intelligence briefings. I am Council Leader Draz of the Ardaxian Collective, the alien said, its voice translated by the ship's computers. To whom am I speaking? Captain Gregory Howard of the Earth Defense Fleet, Howard replied. If you're calling to surrender, I suggest you do it quickly. Draz's eyes blinked rapidly. We wish to negotiate terms. Howard kept his expression neutral, though inside he felt a surge of satisfaction. The terms are simple. You will release all prisoners from conquered worlds. You will withdraw from all territories taken by force. You will pay reparations for the damage you've caused. And you will acknowledge Earth's sovereignty and right to exist without threat. These terms are harsh, Draz protested. They're better than the alternative, Howard replied. We can demonstrate our main weapons on one of your uninhabited moons, if you need convincing. The Ardaxian leader seemed to deflate. That will not be necessary. We will accept your terms under one condition. Protection. Howard frowned. Protection from what? The Galactic Hegemony, Draz said. They expected us to conquer your world easily. When they learn we've failed, when they learn what you're capable of, they will come for both of us. Hours later, in a grand hall on Ardax Prime, representatives from Earth and the Ardaxian Collective signed a peace treaty. Lieutenant Alan Powell, standing guard near Captain Howard, leaned closer to whisper. Did you ever imagine we'd be standing on an alien world accepting their surrender? Howard shook his head slightly. A month ago, most humans didn't even know the Ardaxians existed. Now we're dictating terms in their capital. The signing complete, Council Leader Draz approached Howard. There is something you should know, Captain. The Hegemony Inquiry Fleet will arrive soon. They will expect to find Earth conquered or at least contained. When they discover what has happened instead, we'll be ready for them, Howard assured him. Later, aboard the Vengeance, Howard received a transmission from Admiral Martinez. The treaty is signed, the Ardaxians have surrendered, and we've already begun freeing worlds they conquered, Howard reported. But there's a complication. The Hegemony, Martinez nodded. We suspected as much. Our analysts have been going through the Ardaxian databases. The Galactic Hegemony controls over 500 star systems. They've been eliminating potential rivals for thousands of years. And now they'll see us as a threat, Howard concluded. Yes, Martinez agreed. But we'll be ready. While you were securing Ardax Prime, our construction facilities have been working around the clock. We have 100 more dreadnoughts nearly complete, with improved weapons and shields based on what we've learned from Ardaxian technology. Howard raised his eyebrows. 100 more? Martinez smiled grimly. Humanity has always been good at adapting, Captain, and now we have a new challenge to adapt to. 3 days later, Commander Allison Wright stood on the observation deck of the EDS Vengeance, watching as hundreds of ships moved in formation around Ardax Prime. Earth ships and Ardaxian vessels, former enemies now preparing together for a greater threat. It's hard to believe how much has changed, she said to Captain Howard, who stood beside her. A month ago, I was on a diplomatic mission, hoping for peaceful first contact. Howard nodded. And now we're preparing for a war across the stars. As they watched, a sensor operator's voice came over the comm system. Captain, long-range sensors have detected spatial distortions at the edge of the system. Multiple ships emerging from faster-than-light travel. Howard straightened. Identification? Unknown configuration, sir. Definitely not Ardaxian. Much larger than anything we've seen before. Howard and Wright exchanged glances. The hegemony had arrived. Looks like we're about to meet the real power in this part of the galaxy, Howard said quietly. Wright nodded. Let's show them that humanity is here to stay. Throughout the fleet, alarm signals sounded as Earth and Ardaxian ships moved into defensive formations. The next chapter in humanity's journey to the stars was about to begin.